Hi everybody, and welcome to this video which covers research methods and ethics in relation to the psychology of learning topic. This also recaps the science inquiry skills in psychology. So let's get started. So we know that there are three methods of assessment: objective quantitative, subjective quantitative, and qualitative. And in this video, we're going to cover how these actually apply and relate to a lot of the learning concepts and experiments that we've seen so far. So objective quantitative is any data in numbers, and obviously because it is objective, we cannot object to them, so they're able to be verified. So factual numbers, in other words. Examples of these include behavior counts and physiological responses. So a behavior count is how many times a learnt behavior is demonstrated, and we can literally count how many times based on what we are observing in an experimental or observational design. We saw this in the Bobo doll experiment, where the children's behavior was able to be observed in an experimental setting, and Bandura and his colleagues were able to count how many times the children observed aggressive behavior. So how many times they kicked the Bobo doll, punched the Bobo doll, etc. This increased the experiment's validity. We can also use physiological responses, and we saw this through several case studies when looking at fears and phobias. So we can measure someone's heart rate, blood pressure, galvanic skin response, etc. For example, to see how fearful or nervous someone is. Subjective quantitative can also be used. So quantitative is obviously still numbers, but these results are subject to bias. So they're opinionated numbers, in other words. So we can use rating scales and subjective questionnaires to again get clients to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how anxious they are or how phobic they are of something, for example, and get their opinion but in number form. This is often more convenient, but it is subject to bias and social desirability. We can also use qualitative methods. So we can conduct focus groups on classical, operant, and observational learning, and also fears and phobias. We can get expert technique or expert opinion, in other words, based on any of the forms of learning, including the placebo effect and mirror neurons. We can also conduct interviews and look at pictures. So qualitative data is any data that's not numbers, but that can improve the quality of the argument that's being presented, or we can get rich verbal information on a particular topic. We also need to consider the role of ethics in the learning topic. So it's important to consider that behavior is being changed either directly or indirectly, and researchers need to consider the impact of classical, operant, and observational learning experiments. The ones that we've covered in this course, Little Albert, Pavlov, Skinner, Bobo doll, and Seligman all had ethical dilemmas, as we have covered extensively in class. So the long-term effects may occur due to nature of type of learning and the intervention. Just to recap that the ethics in psychology include informed consent, voluntary participation, confidentiality, right to withdraw, debriefing, deception, accurate reporting, general well-being, and research on animals. As we have discussed in class, all of the experiments that we have covered in class breached at least one of these ethical principles, as we know today. It is expected that you know the ethical dilemmas of all of these experiments, because that may be examinable. So I hope you found this video useful. As always, if you've got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy revising!